And yeah, there we go. So, welcome everyone to another guest speaker session. This session is brought to you by the Execution Lab, where we help people build and grow income first businesses by turning their skills and experiences into real income streams. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Michael Klassen, host and co producer of the 5 a.m. podcast. With a background in broadcast television, video production, and project management, Michael has built a media platform focused on intentional living, discipline, and starting each day with purpose. His entrepreneurial journey began on his family farm, and today, alongside his wife, Susan, he runs the 5 a.m. podcast, a mission driven project centered on personal growth and productive mornings.
Yes.
Michael, thank you for joining us. Really excited to learn about your experience. And yeah, the stage is yours.
Oh, well, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And so, to give a little bit more background on 5 a.m. podcast, with my background in a very high stressful position of broadcasting, where we have to account for like every single, not just every second, but we had 30 frames of video uh, per second. So that was a lot of stress. And so, different ways to deal with stress, of course. And so, one of the things that my wife and I wanted to do is be a blessing and kind of bring some encouragement and some good vibes to people. And um, I like getting up in the morning. I love seeing the sunrise as well as the sunset. And so we came up with 5 a.m. podcast, and with us being Christians, we you can read one chapter of Proverbs for every day of the month because there's 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. And there's a verse in there that says, "He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." And so we needed a bit of refreshing in our life. And we thought, well, let's start writing blog articles and slowly collect our equipment over time. And it took us a while, but we stuck with that vision that we had of being able to refresh people, bring people hope. And then we knew that just in the system of creation and abundance, that would come back to us as a harvest. So and that's how 5 a.m. podcast got going. Eventually, we had enough money to, we bought the mic and then we bought the camera and built that up. And so that is one of the things in our world that we need to have this idea that we can, and it's not even make the world a better place, but we could bring hope and we could bring some good vibes and some talk of abundance to whoever will pick that vision up and run with it. And I know our analytics, they show that we've got great numbers in the Philippines or Turkey or Estonia, of course the United States with such a large market share, but even in South American countries of people finding a consistent message of triumph and transformation. And we've just it's so good to be out of the high stress environment of news or sports or long format TV and to actually be sharing stories of people overcoming trauma or tragedy and transforming in some way.
Nice. So interesting. So, um, tell me about that podcast environment. I don't have experience. I can imagine from like movies that I seen, like
Yes.
running with their headsets and everything. But tell me more about that. And yeah,
Oh, yes. So there's I'll give you a little bit of background on the TV side and kind of what we brought into podcasting. And certainly there's a different I've worked on films and I've worked in broadcasting. And so in broadcasting, let's say we're doing a hockey game or we're in the newsroom, everything's set up, or we're doing a hockey game and we have a hour like 120-minute game approximately, so 2 hours, and we have the entire day to set up and lay our cable runs nice and straight and
mm,
everything's neat and tidy, and then you shoot for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then you strike everything as fast as you can because everybody either wants to go to the bar and unwind or they want to go home and sleep, one of the two. And then you get to the film set, and it's just like there's cable runs everywhere and nothing is neat and tidy and everything is go get this done, and they set up a shot, but while they're setting up a shot, another shot is taking place, and the shot gets set up, they shoot there, and then there's people at another location. And so going from kind of running the broadcast productions to working at a kind of a lower level locations job on a film set and just watching the polar opposites of these two worlds. And that really made me appreciate the control and the neat and tidiness of the broadcast world versus the film world.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like you say, running around with headsets, and maybe you're working 15 hours or something in a day on a film
Okay.
set. And then being
Wow.
able to take that organization over to the podcasting side, where we have a very small crew, and we get to work from home, which is a delight. But then being able to still take that strictness of schedule and getting things done with a level of professionalism and finding the tools that you just have to make it work and get those shows out there. And but it's been a lot of learning experience too, because working in television or knowing that we were going to have a Friday night football game or we were going to have a Saturday night hockey game, we created a destination for people, and
Mhm.
people would plan their weeks um, around a TV schedule, a show that they
Right.
liked, Thursday night shows or the Sunday afternoon football. So destinations were created and people would gather around their television set and watch this thing. But now in the new world, people create their own destination. And
Hmm.
so they work from home or they listen to a podcast in their car. I met an 81-year-old fellow that lives in my town, a successful businessman, has been retired, and he has a delivery job, which he absolutely loves, Mondays and Thursdays. He starts at 3 and he gets home at 2. So he's driving on the road for about 11 hours. He said, Michael, I just listen to podcasts. So the
Wow.
destination has changed. Now we get to consume what we want when we want. And I realize that there's still a market for the destination TV and sport events that we can watch on the big screen at home. But that's been the change of people actually being able to say, I'm going to find what I want. I'm going to find what resonates with me and what I vibe with.
Mhm.
And I can consume and learn and educate myself. Whereas before that was an impossibility.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I actually, when you were telling all of this story, I was remembering, like, me and my family, like, getting ready for some TV show or
Yes,
maybe some sports game or something. It was like, as you said, a destination.
that's right.
Um, so many people in this cohort and in the group in general, they are thinking of starting a business with a strong foundation in content. So some
Mhm.
of them are experts in some subjects, and they are looking into building, or let's say broadcasting, their content
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
world. So uh, what was your journey from getting started? Of course, you had a lot of experience already, but I guess podcast was kind of a new thing. So how was your journey from, me and my wife want to do
Mhm.
this, to actually do it and build an audience?
Oh, that is a great question because everyone has to answer that. And the number one word that comes to mind as you're talking and asking this question is consistency. So
Mm,
once you start, you're either going to keep going or you're going to stop. And so, and my wife, she would hate it when I would say this, but when I worked in broadcasting, we always talked about feeding the beast. We have to feed the beast. We've
mm,
created this beast with this new show, and people now rely on us for this content, and we've created this beast. And so we have to get news stories, and we have to have reporters, and they would be given their 6 to 8 hours to gather the information. It's already been planned, put the show together, and make sure it gets to master control. So now for people who are professionals, or they're creators of some sort of information or speciality, then as they start making the content, we need to be consistent in making the content. One of the things that we had to determine in ourselves is we had to put away the destination mindset,
Mhm.
but we had to adopt the consistency of people. Even though it's not a destination anymore, people needed to be able to trust us that on Wednesdays they were going to get some sort of transformative conversation, somebody overcoming trauma or somebody learning a new skill. So once we started with the Wednesday and Friday schedule, we had to stick with it because people wanted to get the notification that it was there. And I know I get my notifications of podcasts that I follow, and okay, good, it's ready for me when I'm ready to consume it. But we're still building that relationship as content creators. And that number one thing is consistency. Once we start, we either have to keep going or we stop.
Yeah.
And it's because people want to have someone to trust. So they're going to find you, and are they going to trust you first because of the content and that you're an expert? Probably not. They're going to trust you first because you show up.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and this person showed up, because we all know people that do not show up for us.
Yeah.
And so that's like the tale as old as time. So we know that our listeners, once they find us, then first it's like, is this guy or is this gal going to show up for me? It might not be every single Wednesday, but if I know that they're putting a show out on Wednesday and Friday, like Susan and I do with 5am podcast, they know that it's there. Now, what we've seen over the last 13 months of doing 5am podcast is that so we have noticed that our busiest days are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are kind of stinkers for us in terms, we're a young channel, so we're still building, but in terms of our streaming stats. And we were talking about this, and then the light bulb went on and said, okay. So Wednesdays, the first episode comes out for the week, and then Fridays, the next one comes out for the week. And so people have gotten used to that, of those 2 days. And we see great numbers come in from Wednesday to Saturday, but then
Right.
they've been consumed. So we've kind of exhausted our audience. And then what we see though, that now is that they're waiting for Wednesday. And so as you're producing something, people will then begin to wait for Wednesday or whatever day it is that you choose to do that. Now, one of the reasons that we chose Wednesday and Friday is because we wanted a midweek feeding, let's say, or something that people could consume that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But we also wanted Friday so that it gave us fresh content for the weekend. So I think that you could pick any time that you want. And one other thing that we did when we were starting out is we prepared 3 episodes before we launched, so that on our launch date, they could get the number 3 episode or the number 1 episode, whichever one went out. But then they could go to our website or our listing, and there was actually 2 other episodes that people could consume. So you don't want to, if you're starting, you don't want to start with just one. So it takes a little bit of planning. It took us from like when I lost or my position was terminated at the end of October 24, we didn't release anything until January 15th. So we had to get some programming in place. Riverside is what we use for recording. And we actually needed to get some interviews in the can, as we used to say back in the day, and get
Mhm.
that all together. And so that way we could release 3 episodes on that day. The reason that we did 2 episodes a week was because we're members of Podmatch, and we
Mhm.
get inundated with requests for people to be on our show, like inundated. We had to reduce it so we don't get presented as much, because we were just getting presented way too much and getting too many people coming. So we had the content that we could put on, but we really wanted that midweek content, and then we wanted something for them to consume over the weekend. And so that's why we chose Wednesdays and Fridays. You may, as someone in your group is starting to do this, you may want to consider your the social media stats that you already have, and the heat maps of where your listeners are and what time of day they are. And I realize that's going to fluctuate because it fluctuates for us. Like the male female ratio fluctuates, um, and the age groups fluctuate. But I'll give you a very interesting stat, because this relates to when it comes. Let's say the date you want to release your content on. For us, for 5 a.m. podcast, YouTube 100% male, almost all the time, 100%
Uh-huh.
male. If it fluctuates, it'll be like maybe 30% female. So that means that the guys from 25 to 55 or 60 are picking us up on YouTube. However, when we go over to our streaming stats, and so we use Spotify for that because it's free. So their analytics are not as great as like Buzzsprout or Podbean or one of those, but it's free. So we're taking what they're given because it's free. But what we find there is like 70% consistently female listeners on the streaming services. I don't know why that is, but my assumption is that you have the office workers, the ladies in the 9 to 5 cubicles, and they're consuming podcasts throughout the week. And for YouTube, it's probably tradesmen or other people watching it on their phone or having their phone playing in the background. That's what I think. That's my assumption for that breakdown. So the reason I wanted to mention that is that you're going to find different audiences in different places. And so then you can use that information and what your heat maps look like right now for when you would want to put a show out. And Riverside's very helpful in that it actually creates the shorts for us.
Mhm.
And then we use Gemini, which I call G Mini, to give
Okay.
us the title and description. And vidIQ is great on YouTube as well. But yeah, G Mini really does a huge amount of heavy lifting for us on um, uh, our descriptions and our titles, but also those shorts. So we always put a short out either the day of or the afternoon before a full interview is going to come out. If we have time and we're ambitious, we'll have 2 shorts. But G Mini I put the transcript in for my shorts, and it'll actually give us the little headlines to put out throughout the short. And one of the things that it constantly suggests on the shorts is to put a progress bar on the bottom of your short, so that as the viewer is looking, they can see how much is left of the short.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
um, and there's one other component that I'm not sure if it raises the bar at all, but because of my broadcasting experience, I always put a music bed under my short. All the big names, I never see them do it, but I just do it because it gives, for me, I think it gives a little subconscious soothing atmosphere as people
Yeah.
are watching the short. So hopefully that was seemed like a very long-winded question, but looking at those analytics will help you to know when to put it out and to be consistent with that. So
Yeah. A lot of very interesting information. Um, yeah, let me ask something first, Ale. But in terms of content and connecting to an audience,
mhm.
so of course, content creators use the content user message to connect with an audience for an end. Uh, but the format is also important.
Yes.
So why a podcast? Why not a blog, or why not like a Substack channel, or like why a podcast?
Well, I love audiovisual stuff, and
Yeah.
I used to love watching TV, and I've been consuming podcasts probably since maybe 2012, 2014, something like that. I just love podcasts, and I found it as a way uh, to do what I love and to meet new people and to enable it enables my curiosity addiction where I want to find people's stories and see the learn the value in people and uh I don't mind the writing. I like the writing. I had written periodicals in the past. Susan was a journalist for our small town paper many years back. So both of us had the writing experience, which is how 5ampodcast.com got started. And that was intentional to go from the blogging to the video side of it and
Mhm.
to be able to share stories in that way.
Awesome. Cool. So Alejandra here, she asks, she says, I admire your ability to connect with people. How have you developed that skill? Do you
Mm,
have any recommendation for us?
yes. Oh, so very important with that is seeing the value in people first and foremost. Number one, knowing that, I mean, some, my parents, they were strict, they were good Christian people, and we lived in a small town. And we didn't have a lot of those things that would attract friends to you. You know, like we weren't well off. We didn't have the latest vehicles and clothes and things like that. So that meant that our friends were similar and we had to find that value in who the human was,
Mm,
as opposed to all the accoutrements that people would put onto their lives. So connecting with people is knowing the value that they have as a human being and that they have a story to share, that they have we had a minister once at a church and he said everybody, they come wrapped as a gift and it's up to us whether we want to unwrap them and find out what's inside. Some people will just reject the gift because they don't like green wrapping paper or something like that, and they don't realize that they're missing out on something phenomenal inside that package. And so that, I would say that's that first thing of coming to people regardless of what that facade is like, of knowing that, hey, these are like this person is a gift that God sent to me, and maybe I get to interact with them once and they're like that boat that comes through the stream of life. And then other people, they'll keep coming back and docking at the 5M podcast harbor. But other people, you just get one chance at it and they move on. So that connecting is knowing the value that people have. And the other thing that I will say, my little friend G Mini, Gemini. So what I love to do, and it works very well, is feed as much information into that program as possible and ask it for a short introduction and deep research or well researched questions, um, and then a good outro extra, as we would call it in the business, but everybody calls it outro now, and a call to action, because you always want to, the guest is coming to you as an expert to talk about their experience and you want to esteem them in that way. But what I always like to do is put that call to action for their product at the end of the introduction or at the end of the episode as a way of thanking them and making sure that they're valued and esteemed and that people know how to get in touch with them. The other component of that connection that I think is really important is taking time to ask for comments of your audience somewhere in that show, uh, because that's another form of building that community. So we have to be intentional about building that community, and one of the ways is checking in with our audience to find out if they have questions or comments. We're not doing it live, it's all recorded, but it's pretty fulfilling when you get a comment, especially as a young channel. And that builds over time as more people come in.
Yeah.
And the last component of my answer for this question would be that if you enjoy it and your guest enjoys it, your audience is going to enjoy it.
Mhm.
So if your audience can see that you value the guest and you see them as a gift, they're going to feel that same way, and they're going to pick up on that generous vibe.
Yeah. Human
Yes.
emotions are contagious.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So something you said was kind of very aligned with what we do at the execution lab. So basically, something that we work a lot on is that the successful businesses that we can create, they are very often a combination of not only the skills that we have, but also experiences,
Mm.
values, beliefs, hobbies, interests. And you have already mentioned your passion for writing, your um, this belief that every human is precious and a gift to be unwrapped. I
Mhm.
love that. And well, your skills and experiences in the TV industry. So yeah, what other we call them bricks because it's
Okay.
kind of the Legos that we use to build our businesses. So
Yeah.
what are those, amazing bricks that you and your
Mm.
wife brought to build this business?
Yeah. Good question. Because, and it's thought provoking too, because if we're building with bricks or with anything, we've got to have that good foundation. And so our character of who we are, of wanting to give more than we're going to receive from one individual, but we're building this tribe around us. And so often, it has been said the world's favorite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we're not asking that of our listeners. Of I'm only doing this because of what my listeners are going to pay their $5 to $15 a month and do my subscription. That'll come over time. Uh, but it is the character that we bring to the table of who we are, and that we want to be authentic and truthful to them, because people will ferret that the deception out. They'll sniff out uh, untruths, lies, deception, all those negative things. Everybody's got the radar for that. So we want to make sure that we're presenting an authentic self of who we are. Sometimes I probably overshare. No, not sometimes. Often I I overshare because I love to make that connection with people. So oftentimes I'm oversharing with the guest, and I have to go back into Riverside and find that spot and take out some of that personal information. So we have to be guarded. So we've got the authenticity and the character, but we also want to be guarded. And if we do overshare with our guests, we want to go back through our script and take those parts out that aren't really for like mass public consumption. Because unless you delete it, this episode is going to stay for a long time. So we have to choose our words carefully. And then, along with choosing our words carefully, another extremely important brick because this is something that I have to like remind myself often, is let the guest speak. Because I can be the host and I want to facilitate the conversation, and the listener or viewer might be there because they like Marcella, or they like Abel or Michael, or pick your name. You're the host. They like you, but they're listening because they want to see who you're going to introduce them to. And so I know we want to introduce, not interrupt. And so that's another very important brick of letting the guest talk. Sometimes they go on a little bit too long. And one of the ways to protect yourself is not to send questions to your guest. Because I've had it, people will ask for questions, and you could give them broad strokes, but don't give them specific questions. And I'm speaking from personal experience on this one, because some people, they're really nervous and they want to do a super good job as a guest. And so then they will research and they will like practice the answers to your questions. And I've had this in broadcasting, and it's terrible because they're like literally reading their notes, so they're not engaging you in conversation. And you really want to engage in conversation, and you want to maintain that eye contact with the camera. So oftentimes, if you give the questions ahead of time, you're not going to get a great natural flow. You're going to get somebody reading, and it's not going to be warm, and people are going to turn away. So what I like about using the AI tools is it can give me a framework and an outline, but unless I get stuck, I don't read much more than the first or the third, fourth question through there. So I had a very good boss many years ago, and I would do my research. I'd be going out to a news scrum to do a story for the news, and we all had notebooks that were given to us. And Jim came over to me on one of my first ones out the door. He was a very experienced newsman, did radio and TV, and he said, "Michael, I see that you prepare really good, really well for these news scrums and going out to meet newsmakers, let's call them that." He said, "But I see your questions." He said, "The first question can be one that you've written down, but questions 2 and 3 have to be from what your guest or your subject is talking about." So he said, "You got 2 ears, you got 1 mouth. I want you to listen twice as good as you're talking." And so I've kept that with me of I can read my first question, and sometimes you need it because that chemistry is not there yet. And your guest might be a little suspicious of who is this guy or who is this gal asking me questions, and they're a little bit nervous. So we can ask that first question we've written down, but then we want to listen to what they say. And if it's interesting to you, it's probably interesting to your listener. And I know for me, and it's probably the same for you, because this is a really important brick. You might be listening to a podcast and you're saying, "Why don't you ask this question? You should ask this question. This would be a great question to ask." And so I'm kind of thinking, okay, so what might my listeners want to ask from what here my guest just said? So those bricks are really important in putting something together. And it's never too late to start either. Never too
Yeah,
late to start.
and I guess you learn in along the way, right?
Yeah.
Your
Oh,
first
totally.
episode won't be perfect.
No, no. And
Yeah.
the 27th won't either. And that's okay. You're
That's
you're
okay.
you're not looking for perfection. You're looking for community. Really.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Hmm. Okay, we have two questions. Ismail, do you want to ask yours?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for your comments, your conversation. It's very, very enriching. So I get a question. What strategies have been the most effective for growing your audience, in particular here in Canada?
Uh, yeah, that's important to consider that. And it, that is a question that everybody should ask. So there's a couple ways that I have found, and even even in broadcasting, we would want, how do we build our audience? And so then we come over to podcasting or blogging, and how do we build our audience? So I would say that there's a few different forms or tools that we would use to build our audience. Number one is that consistency overall. That's number one, the consistency. And like if we consider the heat map, if you have an X account, and it shows you that heat map of when people are on, when people who consume your content are on, and same thing with YouTube, it'll show you when your viewers are typically there, and that changes all the time. But that consistency, part of it is actually training your audience as you're building it to know when they can find you as well as where they can find you. So the consistency would be that first number one thing for building the audience. The next one is not being everywhere and knowing that there's different consumers at different social media platform. So this might be really simplistic, but I'm going to use it as an analogy. So let's say TikTok is the Italian restaurant, and Instagram is the Chinese restaurant, and Facebook is, I don't know, the old folks buffet down the street, and you've got another one somewhere else. So you've got these different restaurants, and different restaurants have a different person. Whoever consumes our stuff on TikTok is absolutely a different demographic, age group, interest than who's going to be on your Instagram or your Facebook. And that's okay. And that's why there's different ways to do the titles and descriptions for those different platforms. So that would be the other one, is knowing your market and understanding that as you're building it, you're finding the recipe that people are going to like at those different restaurants. The other one is the pay to play, which we're getting to see a little bit more, like with YouTube. You watch those videos about people saying, oh, I monetized in like 90 days or 180 days. It was amazing. And it's probably because they had a budget for ads. That's one of my clients, actually, Leighton. What we found with him, and this worked, I'll give you another example of the pay to play in a moment. So there is the advertising on all the social media platforms. And of course, there's the advertising on YouTube. But there's other sites like Pocket Cast or Podcast Addict and a few other ones where you can actually advertise on their apps. So you can get your show on the carousel or inside a particular heading or group. Now, pardon me, I realize that not everybody can do that. And we have to be very particular going from what our budget is even going to look like for that. So we wanted to test it out, and it was near the end of last year. So we went to Podcast Addict. There's Pocket Cast and Podcast Addict are two of these sources where you can pay to have your your show highlighted in one of the categories or somewhere on the app. And they give you an expectation of how many listens, downloads, followers you're going to get. And so the one we picked, I think it was probably maybe $200 for the week or something. And we can't do that every week, but we wanted to try it for 1 week. And wouldn't you know, the numbers that they gave us were like almost spot on to what we got. So we picked up an extra 15 subscribers. Our listeners were up, that our listens, downloads were up that week, but they actually stayed up. So some of the viewers that we got from that actually stayed with us. So that's the one that costs money. And I realize that not everybody can do that at first, but it is something for you to consider for the future when you can do it. The other issue that we had is we had, we had enough to do 1 week. It would have been phenomenal if we had enough for 5 or 6 weeks so that we could have sustained it so that people would have seen it more. But we were happy with our results, and it is something that we would do again. So one other part, Ishmael, about building that audience is the shorts and titles and descriptions. Now, the reason that I meant, so shorts and titles and descriptions, if this works all the time for us, if we have a stinker of a short, we change the title, and you change the title until you start getting 100 views. And so that's what we use G-Mini for, or our vidIQ is good with it too. I think it costs us, I don't know, $5 to $10 a month for the Google Gemini. And if we have a stinker of a short, or we're having an underperforming long format video on YouTube or even on Spotify, we'll change the title until we actually start to get some traction. Now, I realize that some people can get thousands of views, and we're happy if we break like 500 or 600 views on a short. Not more often than not, but we will get shorts that have over 1,000 views, but then they seem to kind of peter out. So they plateau, and then we can try changing the title and description, but I think the algorithms kind of take it as far as they're going to take it without us paying YouTube or one of the other platforms to actually show it to new people that they know. The algorithm knows who's going to like your short or your long format video, but they're only going to show it to so many until you pay them. And case in point for that, I had a client a couple years ago, and I said, David, if you're serious about your YouTube channel, and he was with a charitable organization, so they had funding for this. I said, if you spend $1,500 a month for the next 10 to 12 months, you will not have to advertise after that. And now, 2 years later, it's a surprise if he has less than 20,000 views on his long format videos. And he'll do like a Thursday live on his YouTube, and he'll get 60 to 100,000 people watching. And it's because he had that consistent $1,500 a month every month for that period of time. What I have found on YouTube, for some reason, they love it if you spend more than $30 a day. So one of the things that I've recommended to some people is just spend $30 for the day, and you'll get, I don't know, you might get 500, you might get 1,000 more views on there. But what I have found with another one of my clients is he used to spend $1,500. He took my advice. He started with the $1,500 in a month, but now he spends half of that or a third of that, and he gets the same number of views. So when his channel was younger, he was spending more, and now he can spend less and he can get more views. because he's been doing that for a while, and the algorithm plus the people are coming back to watch more. So that advertising pays off, and those combined things, pardon me, sorry about that. Those combined things will help to build, and none of us can be in this for the short term. We all have to have faith that this plane that we're launching is going to fly. And so it's good to have these goals and skills that we're honing, but also keep in mind that, okay, so I'm going to save my money, or I'm going to wait to build up some finances, and I'm going to do a little bit of advertising on one of these spots. And I'm going to focus on that spot so that I can build up my audience there. And then we can go build another one. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Interesting. We have only 2 minutes left, but I wanted to ask the golden question. So the golden question, we are in income first businesses. So what is your monetization model? How do you guys make money?
Oh, that's a good question. We would like to know that too sometimes. So we haven't put the priority on income first, I should say, because we know that we're in the building stage. So my wife works, she does social media for an oil field construction related company. And then I do some production stuff with some clients that I have. It enables us both to work from home, which means that we can put the effort into building 5am podcast. We do have some monthly donors that have come on just with connecting with people. But we've had to manage our expectations that if we wanted to generate income, then we have to then we have to find products. So we're working on a workbook. We're working on a couple of other journals and things like that. And that always takes time too. So we have to be really disciplined. The other really important thing is we can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. So we know that the money will come, but we also know that we have to be really intentional about building our audience and getting the numbers up so that we do find more people that want to support us financially. But also we want to make sure that we have products that we can sell. Now, here is a tried and true method that I take from broadcasting, is you create small booklets, like 30 to 40 pages, little small booklet, like a 5x7 or 5x8 book. That's a kind of a standard printing size. And some of your articles or essays or blogs that you write, you put that in there and you give that as a freebie. And then you're going to actually mail a hard copy to them. So you're building an email list as well as a physical address list. And it's the jab, jab, punch kind of thing. So you have this free booklet that you're going to give, but you're going to include a little card in it to say that I want to support Abel Asario. I want to support this show. And here's my one-time gift or my monthly support. And you put that in with the free booklet with an envelope that has your address on it. And so you have to give it away. But as you build that trust and you build that relationship, the money will come in from your audience. But you definitely have to write down and make it plain of what your income streams are going to be and what your expectations are going to be with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you very much. I want to be respectful of your time.
No
I know
problem.
that, and also it's a little bit late in Alberta. So
Yes.
yeah, it was amazing. I wish we had like 4 more hours.
Oh, well.
But
I'm happy to take one more question if someone's got a question from the audience.
Okay, cool. Any of you guys have any questions for Michael? Because before we wrap this up,
That's right.
Marcella, you had a question, but I think that was already answered.
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
Thank you. It was beautiful sharing everything. Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
happy to. Happy to. And it's always good to work together. And there's plenty of fish in the sea, so to speak. There's plenty of listeners out there. We have no idea how many listeners are out there. And so, Giselle, you can go to 5ampodcast.com. Just the number 5ampodcast.com. We are, so we're on all the streaming services, Good Pod, Spotify, um, Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube and TikTok and all those. And I know there's a lot more that Susan and I can do that we have plans to do, but we have to manage expectations and we got to work and pay the bills and get that together. So thank
Yeah.
you very much. And thank you, Alejandra, for putting that up there. Yeah. Our
Yeah,
YouTube.
I will send you guys all the information from Michael so you can connect with his
Mhm.
content and with him if you guys want.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, thank you very much, Michael. This has been great. I've enjoyed very much this session, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Happy to do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, all right. See you guys. Thank you for joining as well. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Thank you, Iber.
See ya. Bye bye.
Thank you.